Welcome to Bill and Jalen's NBA Playoffs Preview.
I watched a lot of basketball with Jalen because we work together. We host Countdown. We spend a lot of time in the green room just watching multiple games at once as Jalen looks at the sideline reporters and goes, "Who is that?"
And that's why we need some Axe body spray.
In case you run into one of the sideline reporters?
We got the body, we need the spray.
But one of the things you always do is you'll see somebody or something or some interview or somebody has a good game and you'll go, "I'm happy for him." Let's make a starting five of people we're happy for that made the playoffs. Who is your "I'm happy for him" starting five?
Number one is Shaun Livingston.
Oh, me too. He's the MVP.
Right?
He's a unanimous MVP.
A top 5 pick. And if you haven't seen the gruesome video of basically his knee snapping like a toothpick when he played for the Clippers, check that out so you can see how far he's come.
And you know what? You were in the league. I actually had Clipper season tickets and was going to the games those first couple years with him. And I really feel like if you replayed his career 10 times, like 7 of the times it would have ended really, really well with like multiple All-Stars and stuff like that. This was like the 10th out of 10 time. Sam Cassell comes in. He loses his confidence. Sam Cassell, who I think was a good veteran in a lot of ways, but also wanted to start. And now you got him come off the bench. You got Mike Dunleavy yelling at him. He doesn't know whether to go fast or slow. And now all of a sudden it's year 3. He hasn't really developed into what he was going to. And then he blows out his knee and he's basically out of the league.
And also he's a 6'7" point guard, which is hard to do in this league. That's why you've only seen Magic, Steve Smith, Penny Hardaway actually be able to transform playing it in college and play it in the league.
Watching him when he was 19, the two things jumped out other than his size. He was a great passer.
Yep.
And that's like, he had the passing gene, you could see it. And he had a great feel for the game. He wasn't like one of those guys who like seemed like he learned how to play in the AAU. It was just his general, everything he could do. Almost a little like how Jabari, when you watch Jabari and you go, that guy would be fun to play with. That's how I always felt about Shaun Livingston.
Now, the way he's playing with the Nets, the thing that's turned around their season is that they gave him the ball.
Right.
And he took it out of Deron Williams' hands.
Yeah.
Now, that was a dynamic that team had been struggling with the last couple of years because D. Will has been inconsistent. He necessarily wasn't the strongest leader for that franchise.
Wow, you really sugarcoated that one. He had no leadership whatsoever.
And so you add this guy, he makes it all right. The first thing I said when Jason Kidd got the job is the person that's going to be the most happy is him. Because I knew Jason Kidd, as a former point guard, was going to love his skills and get him involved.
I thought the person who was going to be the most happy was the people who didn't care if practice started on time because he's late 10 times a year.
I got something for you guys to watch as it relates to Shaun Livingston.
Okay.
You can't tell me Phil Jackson don't want to put him in a triangle. Stay tuned.
Ooh, I like when you drop little dimes when it seems like you might have knowledge for stuff. Here's another one that has to be on our list. Big Al.
Big Al!
Another guy who I randomly watched a lot of early in his career. And another guy that if you played his career 10 times, I feel like the worst case scenario happened. Kept getting these little nagging injuries those first couple Boston years. Every time he was coming on, something happened. He tweaked his knee, hurt a calf, whatever. Then he's on a lottery team. Then they trade him for KG to Minnesota. Then he's on crappy Minnesota teams. Just as that's come along, blows out his knee. Then they trade him to Utah. Then he's stuck on these mediocre Utah teams in a really good Western Conference, signs with Charlotte, and now he's getting his due.
He really is. And we talk a lot about the lost art of the post game and of the center. He and Brook Lopez got post moves better than any bigs in the game.
Yeah, and he's better than Brook Lopez.
He got up and unders. He could turn over both shoulders. He got a face-up little jump shot. He got a face-up fake where he could go either way. He's a legitimate 20-point-a-night scorer. Plus, he's going to get you 10-plus rebounds. You got to double and triple team that guy. So now watch Charlotte continue to build their roster of guys that could just be catch-and-shoot players.
Right.
So you got Kemba Walker, who's a penetrator who can get you points and play off the dribble. Kid Gilchrist is not a shooter. He's a defender. So now look for them to build a team that it just surrounds shooters around Al Jefferson.
And I really liked when they signed Al Jefferson because I thought it was a fair price for somebody who has to be double-teamed. Mm-hmm. Not to toot my own horn because I also liked what Detroit did with Josh Smith. So I'm not saying how it was great every time. But in Al Jefferson's case, it's like at least you could point to this one thing and say, this guy's so good in the low post, at the end of the games, you have to send a second guy or he's going to score. And I also think he has an extra gear. I think in the playoffs, especially if he plays the right team, I think he's going to be in the 28 to 30, and he'll get fouled a lot, and he'll be double-teamed.
His extra gear is he's going against all centers that can't score on the post.
Yep.
So he gets to rest on defense.
Right. And he's not a good defensive player.
Let's talk about the top teams in the league, and let's say who their centers are.
Birdman Anderson.
He can guard him and rest on D.
Ray Hibbert.
Resting on D.
Ray Hibbert's resting also. I think
9
Ray
and
Hibbert's
4 in
just resting.
March.
Yeah.
He got to get it together.
Come on, Ray Hibbert. But yeah, you go down the line, the Plumlee, whatever the Nets Plumlee is. Which Plumlee?
Just call him Plums.
Malayson Plumlee. Another guy I'm very happy for, Paul Pierce.
Yep.
Just because
The truth.
it really just seemed like the all-time worst-case scenario. Leaves Boston, goes to this crazy net situation. They go in the tank early, and it's just like, man, this stinks. I didn't want Paul Pierce's career to end this way. And then it flipped.
Didn't flip. And he deservedly didn't allow himself to go into the tank because emotionally, that could have got ugly in late December.
It kind of did. I mean, he was kind of on the fringe, right? You know him a little bit. Like
Thank
it was,
God for the Eastern Conference.
Thank God.
You're
We keep
never
saying
out
that.
of it.
We keep saying that. Another guy I'm happy for, who I think should be in our starting five, Mr. Dirk Nowitzki.
Captain Dirk.
Wins the 2011 finals, does not make the playoffs the next 2 years.
He goes through Brandon Roy and Aldridge. He goes through Russell Westbrook and KD. He goes through Kobe and Gasol. He goes through a snickering LeBron and Wade. Dirk to win his championship. Now that's a road.
Do we have a fifth guy for the I'm happy for him starting five? Can I say Jimmer Fredette? I still feel like he's going to have a moment.
No, it ain't Jimmer. It's Joe.
Jimmer!
It's Joakim Noah.
Okay.
This guy, whether they have Dang in or out of the lineup, Rose in or out of the lineup, he epitomizes his coach, besides Pop and Tim and probably Dirk and Carlisle. Their relationship to me, beyond perimeter players, is an awesome flow to how that center or big guy is the personality of the coach on the floor.
Here's why I'm thinking about vetoing that pick. I'll give you a couple reasons. One, he makes like $13 million a year. Two, he's going to be first-team All-NBA this year for the center position. Three, it seems like he does okay in the female department, and I'm understating
I'm
it.
jealous of his hair.
It's something about that dude, man. When we filmed that commercial with him, all the women who work in the commercials, it's like he's got some sort of vibe. I think his dad probably was tutoring him since he was 10 or something. But on the other hand, I am happy for him because Derrick Rose goes down. They think they're going to win the title. They go into that season, they're like, yeah, like we're winning the title. Derrick Rose goes down. They trade Dang. They're totally happy to go in the lottery. And Noah and Tibbs were just like, no, we're making the playoffs.
And they show up and they're competitive, and it's because of his leadership.
Yeah.
So I'm happy for him.
Me too. That's our starting five. The all I'm happy for them team.